There's a line, thin, invisible, unmarked, between dedication and obsession. Between I want this and I can't exist without this. Between building something and being consumed by it. And the man who crosses that line never sees it. Because from the inside, obsession doesn't feel like a disease. It feels like purpose. It feels like clarity. It feels like the one thing in his chaotic, uncertain life that makes sense. He calls it drive. He calls it ambition. He calls it, I'm just built different. And the world agrees. The world celebrates the obsessed man. Hustle culture, grind mentality. Sleep is for the weak. Sacrifice everything. Burn the ships. But nobody asks the question that should come next. What happens when the fire you started to fuel your dream starts burning your house down? When the business you built costs you your health? When the goal you chased costs you your relationships? When the pursuit of greatness costs you the ability to feel anything except the next milestone? Tonight, we're going to explore the psychology of obsession, the darkest edge of ambition, where drive becomes addiction, where purpose becomes prison, and where the man who would do anything to succeed discovers that anything included himself. Obsession doesn't announce itself. It seduces you. It starts as passion. You find something that excites you, a business idea, a skill, a goal, a vision, and the excitement is genuine. Your brain lights up. Dopamine flows. For the first time in months, maybe years, you feel alive. You feel direction. You feel meaning. And so you pursue it. Hard. Fast. With an intensity that surprises even you. You skip sleep because the work feels more important than rest. You cancel plans because the project feels more urgent than people. You lose track of time because time stops mattering. Only progress matters. And the world rewards this phase. Your productivity skyrockets. Your results multiply. People notice. They praise. They say, look at his work ethic. Look at his commitment. This man is going places. And the praise becomes fuel. The dopamine cycle reinforces itself. Work produces results. Results produce praise. Praise produces dopamine. Dopamine demands more work. The loop accelerates. Faster, tighter, more consuming. Psychologists call this the flow to obsession pipeline. Flow is the optimal state of human performance. Full immersion, effortless focus, time distortion. But flow has an exit. You enter, you perform, you leave. Obsession is flow without the exit. The door locks behind you, and you don't notice because it feels so good inside. The difference between a dedicated man and an obsessed man isn't the hours they work. It's whether they can stop. The dedicated man works hard and then rests, fully, without guilt, without the itch. The obsessed man tries to rest and feels withdrawal, agitation, anxiety. The feeling that he's falling behind, wasting time, losing ground, even when he's sitting on a beach with the people he loves. That inability to stop, that's not ambition. That's addiction. And like every addiction, it hides behind a mask. This one's mask is called success. The obsessed man's life looks impressive from the outside. Productive, focused, driven. But if you could see the wreckage behind the resume, you'd see a different picture. The body goes first, because the obsessed man treats his body like a machine. Fuel it. Use it. Ignore its complaints. The meals are skipped or mechanical. The sleep is sacrificed or interrupted. The exercise is either non-existent or itself obsessive. Punishing instead of nourishing. And the body keeps score. The chronic back pain he blames on stress. The insomnia that started as optional and became involuntary. The weight gain he doesn't notice because he hasn't looked at himself, really looked in months. The immune system that fails at the worst moments because it's been running on emergency reserves for years. The relationships go next, not explosively, gradually. The partner who used to be first priority quietly slides to second, then third. Then, I'll make it up to them next week. The friends who used to hear from him weekly now hear from him monthly, then seasonally, then not at all. The children who wanted his presence settle for his presence. And one day, he looks up from the work and realizes the room is empty. Not because they left suddenly, because they left one by one while he wasn't watching. And then the identity collapses, because the obsessed man has fused his identity with his pursuit. He is the business. He is the project. He is the goal. There is no line between who he is and what he does. And when the project fails, when the business hits a wall, when the goal moves out of reach, he doesn't experience a professional setback. He experiences an existential crisis. Because if the thing fails, he fails. There is no him without the thing. This is what psychologists call identity fusion, the merging of self-concept with a single domain. And it's the most dangerous state a driven man can enter, because it means every fluctuation in the external goal produces an earthquake in his internal world. A bad quarter isn't a bad quarter. It's proof that he's worthless. A delayed milestone isn't a delay. It's evidence that he was never good enough. The obsessed man didn't just sacrifice his health, his relationships, and his peace for the dream. He sacrificed himself. And the dream, the ungrateful, mechanical, indifferent dream, didn't even notice. Obsession runs on the same neurological hardware as every other addiction. The circuitry is identical. At the center is the dopamine system. Dopamine isn't the pleasure chemical. That's a common misconception. Dopamine is the anticipation chemical. It fires not when you get the reward, but when you expect the reward. It's the almost there chemical, the one more chemical. And this is why obsession escalates. Every milestone reached produces a brief dopamine spike, followed by a crash. And the brain adapts. The spike that used to come from closing one deal now requires closing 5. The satisfaction that used to come from one good day now requires a perfect week. The goalpost moves automatically, not because you chose to move it, because your brain recalibrated the threshold. Neuroscientists call this tolerance, the same mechanism that makes an alcoholic need more drinks to feel the same buzz. The obsessed man needs bigger results to feel the same satisfaction. And the cycle spirals. More work, less payoff, more sacrifice, less reward. Until the man is running at full speed on a treadmill that he can't step off, not because the work is fulfilling, but because stopping feels worse than continuing. And here's the cruelest mechanism of all: intermittent reinforcement. The same pattern that makes gambling addictive. The obsessed man doesn't succeed every time. He succeeds unpredictably. Some days produce massive wins. Some days produce nothing. And that unpredictability hooks the brain deeper than consistent reward ever could. Because the brain becomes a prediction machine, constantly chasing the pattern, constantly asking, will this be the day? This is why the obsessed man keeps going, even when the results have stopped justifying the sacrifice. He's not making a rational calculation. He's in a neurological loop, chasing a hit that requires more input each time and delivers less output each time. And the loop disguises itself as purpose, as meaning, as I'm close, I just need a little more. You're not close, you're addicted. And the substance is your own ambition. Let's stop for a moment, because if you've been nodding along, if you see yourself in these words, that recognition is uncomfortable, because the obsessed man doesn't want to be called obsessed. He wants to be called driven. And there's a test, a simple, brutal test that separates the driven from the obsessed. Ask yourself, if I achieved everything tomorrow, the business, the body, the money, the status, would I be able to sit in a quiet room and feel at peace? Or would I immediately start chasing the next thing? The driven man can answer honestly, I could rest. The obsessed man hesitates because he knows the truth. The quiet room is his worst nightmare, not because he loves the work so much, but because the work is the only thing standing between him and whatever he's running from. And this is the secret that obsession guards with its life. Underneath every obsessive pursuit is a wound, an emptiness, a question that was never answered. Am I enough? Do I matter? If I stop producing, will anyone still care? The obsession isn't about the goal. It was never about the goal. The goal is the anesthesia. The frantic activity is the distraction. The constant pursuit is the wall between the man and the void he's terrified to face. Some men run from their father's disappointment. Some run from their own sense of inadequacy. Some run from a childhood that told them they're only valuable when they're useful. And they run faster and faster and faster, building empires on top of wounds, never realizing that the empire won't heal the wound. Only facing the wound will heal the wound. And facing the wound requires the one thing the obsessed man has trained himself to never do: stop. The cure for obsession isn't quitting the dream. It's separating yourself from it. You are not your business. You are not your body fat percentage. You are not your net worth. You are not your follower count. You are the man behind all of those things. And that man exists independently of every external metric. The first step is scheduled stillness, not meditation retreats or spiritual vacations. Just 1 hour per week where you do nothing productive. Nothing. No phone. No work. No productive rest. Just existence. And feel what comes up. The anxiety, the guilt, the itch to do something. That itch is the addiction talking. Let it talk. Don't obey. The second step is identity diversification. The man whose entire identity is in one basket is one bad quarter away from collapse. Build identity in multiple domains. Be a businessman and a reader. Be an athlete and a cook. Be a grinder and a friend. When one domain fluctuates, the others hold you stable. You don't crash because your whole self was never in one vehicle. The third step is relationship restoration. Call someone you've neglected. Not to network, not to discuss the project, just to ask how they are. And then, the hardest part, listen. Without checking your phone, without calculating whether this conversation is productive. Just be present with another human being as a human being, not as a machine. The fourth step is the horizon check. Once a month, sit down and ask, why am I doing this? Not, what am I doing? You know that. But why? If the answer is because I love it and it enriches my life, you're driven. If the answer is because I don't know who I am without it, you're obsessed. And obsessed requires intervention, not acceleration. And the fifth step, the one that takes the most courage, is facing the wound. whatever you've been running from, whatever question you've been drowning in work to avoid. Sit with it. Not forever, just long enough to acknowledge that it exists, that it has been driving you, that the empire you built was partly a fortress against a pain you never addressed. You don't have to solve it in one sitting. You just have to stop pretending it doesn't exist, because a man who knows what drives him is free, and a man who doesn't is fuel. Drive is a fire you control. Obsession is a fire that controls you, and the transition between them is so gradual that most men don't realize they've crossed the line until the smoke is already in their lungs. If you're reading this and your chest is tight, if you can feel the recognition settling into your bones, then this message found you at the right time. You don't have to stop dreaming. You don't have to stop building. You don't have to lower your standards or shrink your ambition. You just have to remember that the man building the empire is more important than the empire itself. And if the builder is broken, the empire will fall anyway. Not from external forces, from the cracks in the foundation. The cracks you created by pouring every ounce of yourself into the structure and leaving nothing for the architect. Protect the architect. Rest the architect. Heal the architect. Because the greatest thing you'll ever build isn't a business or a body or a legacy. It's a life. A real, complete, breathing life that includes rest and love and silence and joy. Not just the next milestone. Build the dream. But don't let the dream build you into something you never wanted to become. This is Obscura. Clarity through darkness.